Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It's March 6th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and it was really all downhill for the day. Early on, we were in this range, and you could see the support across here, but it gave way and continued lower, and there's actually a two-tiered channel working lower here. It's a little steep, so you would expect it to maybe flatten out, and notice how it flattens out and goes into this two-tiered channel, and you can see that working all the way down the rest of the day. And this one was not that hard to find. A lot of times that trips people up because you get a break and a couple of legs down, they expect it to reverse. But always look for that flatter. If this one's too steep, which this is, generally a healthy trend is going to be about a 45-degree angle, so from corner to corner. And you can see this one's a little bit too steep, and then this one's actually kind of flat, and we're swinging both ways, so you can actually trade this one both ways, although the trend is down, and you're going to probably find most of your trades to the downside. But you can trade this both ways. So when it's swinging back and forth above and below the EMA consistently like that, yeah, you can trade it both ways. So just keep that in mind. If it's a real strong trend, it's straight down like this, it just keeps going. No, you know, you can see we're really pretty consistently below the EMA. We came back a couple of times here, but really early on I thought this would be two legs down. You can see I measured the first leg, then you measured the second. We missed that one by a couple of ticks, and then we corrected, and then we made this, we got a break of this one, so you measure that leg. Oops, wrong line. I never grabbed the right one. You measure that leg, and here's where the next one started, and that would be a good target. And you see we missed that one by a few ticks as well. So, but the reason is because we were bouncing off this lower trend line, and you can clearly see that midline through there. Prices working both sides of it. So anyway, let's back out, talk about the trades, and wrap it up for today. You had to be a little patient early on. You really kind of had to be patient all day today. And I had that conversation with somebody earlier. They were asking me yesterday, prices looked a lot like this, very similar, and then they asked me why I was comfortable taking a short, and the reason being was, actually, let me find that trade. I'm trying to remember exactly what we talked about. Oh, here was this trade right here. They asked me how I was confident going short here, and I explained to them, first of all, you got a trend line working down through here. It's actually a little bit flatter than that, like so. You had a little break during the overnight, but you got to work with this until it fits properly, and you can see that fits properly. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I think it's worth talking about. And you can see there's a two-tiered channel working there, and that's very similar to what we had today. But they asked me, they were looking to go long right here, and they asked me why I was looking at a short here. And because it looks very neutral, and it does. We're still trading it within the high overnight lows and the overnight highs, and we're kind of right in the middle. Look how flat the EMA is. So he's right. It is. It does. But what I was doing, I wasn't looking for any trade here. If anything, we'd already had one leg down, so you would expect to try to make another leg down. There's that leg. If we're not going to make another leg up, we're going to probably make another leg down. Market moves in twos. So I would look for a target somewhere down here. But anyway, it was really flat. And I'm not going to go long here. We just had a first entry, and then we never really went lower again. There is a second entry there. Notice this high pullback, first entry, pullback, second entry. Look how flat it is. Look at the bars stacking up. What I told him was, you're not looking for any trade here, really. You're just kind of sitting idle and waiting. And then when this thing ticks higher again and makes that failed second entry long, and then a bearish bar, and that's a nice short. And notice you got a new low first entry, you correct, and there's a second entry short there. So failed second entry long, second entry short. Look how we pushed through the EMA. You've got one leg down. This is really all one little trend here. You're also looking for prices to try to make a new low just off of that little trend. You get a correction. So you really don't know what's going to, but you wait for the market to tell you. Um, there's not a good long here. So when you get that little trap right there, you want to go short and you take the short. So by sitting and being patient and waiting on the market to show you, it shows you, hey, there's a trap here and a second entry short with a nice bearish bar. That's the one I'm going to take. And so hopefully that makes sense. But I tried to explain that to him, and I hope he got that point. Anyway, this looks very similar again here today. We had two legs up, and then we start working down. We could go higher here, or we could turn down. But at the time, you got a little trend line working down, and I just drew this. I can never grab the right line off these lows right here, and you can see it fits the best there in the end. But early on, you might have had this a little flatter, like so. It actually would have been more like this right here probably. But that's the first break, and it's a failed second entry long, and it actually went higher and then turns and comes down. Just go short one tick below that. It's a trap, so it doesn't matter so much what the trend line the signal bar looks like. And this is again looking like a range day. We just came off the highs, so we're probably headed to the lows. There's another little pullback right here. It's right off that midline as well. The only problem I didn't like with this one is it's right into this support. If you extend this line on over, and you can see if you wait on that bar to close, which you have to because these are not good signal bars, then you don't have much room there. Even if you moved it on down where the last closes were, you don't have much room there. It ends up, it doesn't matter. And you might have looked at that like this is the midline right here and said, hey, we're probably going to shoot down. So you might risk that one. If there hadn't been 1, 2, 3 bars stacked up there and a doji in the middle, I'd probably say that one should at least be green. But this is just one of those where you just have to kind of watch it go without you. And of course we bounced down here, but you don't really have a convincing close outside this trend line. You actually don't really even have a close out. That one's close, that little doji. But you get your break. You actually get a second entry short right there. But you got a little trend line working up, and you got to be careful with that one. And we've already bounced off this lows again, so I just kind of sit tight here and see what happens. And you really just work your way back up to the upper trend line. And then you get this bar, this lower high with a big bearish bar. And now you got enough room to get out. I like going short there. And at this point, I would have measured this leg and said, hey, if we continue to go lower, I'm going to look for a measured leg down. And you see we came up a couple of ticks short, but again, we ran into the lower trend channel line and bounced. It kept trying to go lower, but it finally gave up and went higher. And that's what happens. The market can't go down. It's going up. And then, of course, you got a failed second entry long right here. Let me get that arrow out of the way now that we've looked at that. But you're going short right into the support here. Not a good idea. You actually push lower, pull back, and it does act as resistance right there. But again, it's, you're going short at the low of the day, right at strong support. When this looks a lot like a range at this point, I'm just probably going to sit tight there and see what happens. And we just notice how we kind of go sideways. And then finally you make a lower high. I did mark this one red because it did push through the EMA, pull back and close through it, and you were looking for a measured move down. Again, there's not much room to this low, so that's a little bit concerning. So you could argue that this may be a little aggressive, so it's real close. You could say green, red. Anytime you don't have enough room, it's to get out before the lows or right at the lows of the days, it's always suspect. So this one's real close, but it is a breakout pullback short. we've gone sideways, we break through, we come back, we test it. But the main reason I made it red is because it's right off that EMA, and we are looking for that measured move, and now you got plenty of room down to that measured leg, or at least down to this side. So that's kind of why I liked it. And of course we're bouncing here, and this is pretty steep. It's all downhill, so I'm not crazy about looking for longs. You could argue there's a little reversal pattern right here, and maybe there's enough room to get out. Notice that low first entry, you turn up, and then second entry. It does push through the EMA, not very strongly. This is a fairly bullish bar. If you'd entered there and you start going sideways here, it'd probably shake most people out anyway. But you could argue for that one, just simply because it does look like a reversal pattern with enough room. But this is steep enough that I think you're better off just to skip it. And then once we get outside here, I would still expect that we would try to make a new low, even if there's not a flatter pattern here. So you're just kind of waiting for the market to show you what it's going to do. And then when you get this big move down and a lower high here right at the EMA, and there's actually two legs back there, so on a smaller chart you would have a second entry. I like that one. It is right into that last swing, but your lows are down here, and you'll probably get at least another leg like this, and you may get a leg like this whole leg over here. The better trade is probably to wait on this one, because now it confirms the trend line. You drew the trend line off these first two swings. Now you confirm it. And again, it went higher and turned and went out the other side, so it's another one of those tricky ones. That confirms that trend line. It's a double test of the EMA there. It actually went higher and then turned down, so I like that one. It does come back one more time here. If you draw your trend channel and all that, this is another bearish bar right there at this trend line. You probably may not have had this two-tiered channel. I would have drawn it up here and drug it down, but even at that point I probably would have had it here. So you probably wouldn't have had it just right regardless. But I still like that short just because it's 3 tries to go higher, and it's right at the key entry point. It does come off the EMA as well. It is it traded up, then trades all the way back down. That's another one that's kind of close. You could almost argue for that one to be green. It's a little bit aggressive, but it's just like right there at the border, so I'll change it to green. But these were really the better 2 entries here. And of course we bounce. And we do have a break and a new high. So you may, if you got a nice reversal pattern here, you may consider saying, hey, I may take a reversal here, but you don't really get one. You don't get a failed second. It just runs up. You actually get 2 legs up, and then it reverses. It tried to break higher there and didn't. And then you get a lower high here, but that bar's too bullish. And then you're working up first entry, you're working up, and you get a second entry short here, but then you got a couple of bars. Again, not very good signal bars. So wait for a lower high, and you finally get that right there. Big bearish bar. It's a pretty big bar, but you figure we're going to try to at least shoot down to here, and we may make a measured move here. Could be this line is down here at that point. We really don't have a lot of information to tell us exactly at that point. So, but you figure we're going lower regardless. And off it goes. And you can see it's starting to find some support across here. And notice too that now we've had a break. Go all the way back to this 2-tiered channel. We had a break and 2 measured legs down. Basically, we're not quite measured, but you can see all that support across there, and that's basically because of the flatter channel. And so on a second entry long, after testing this thing, you make a double bottom, then a double test. There's really a double test right here. Not a very good signal bar though. So when we get this next test and you get that strong signal bar on a second entry long, I like that one just to try to get a scalp. And if we catch the low, hey, you make a higher low here. And again, there's a low. Basically already got a double bottom. So first entry, second entry. So you could treat that like a trap. It is back into this midline, but with it being a trap there, and look how this bar actually went lower and then turned and goes out. So, and you're expecting prices to try to go back to the upper side again to the trend line because we just came off the lower side. And we tested it multiple times. That's the reason I'm thinking, I like getting long here finally after trying to get two measured legs down. So easy scalp, then it comes back, and then, now you got to question it. Not a very good signal bar. There's another signal bar here that really confirms this trend line, but we're so close to the highs. Do you really want to risk that? I don't think you would. I think you'd be better off to wait and see if you get a short. And guess what? It turns down right off that with a big bearish bar. But you're still inside this trend line. But when it tries to go higher again, and there's basically 3 pushes up there, and this is a double test. Not a very good signal bar, and that's why I made it green. If it had been a big bearish bar, I would have liked jumping on that one because you can see that trend line's holding. And we tested, you got a double test there. This actually goes higher, but it's close enough with what's going on here. That's close enough to know that we tried to go through there, and then we tried 2 more times, so we double tested it. And so I marked that one green, though. I think it's a little bit aggressive. And then we're moving down. First entry long. There's a lower high, 2 neutral bar. There's a failed second entry long. It doesn't trigger till right here, though, so that's why I marked that bar. There's not a lot of room there. And you bounced there twice. You would expect prices to try to get down to here. So you may try to take that trade. And depending on what your chart's like, you need to make sure you got enough room. I think mine would have been a 4-tick failure, to be honest with you. And you would have got stopped out if your stop's 1 tick above this, that's where you pretty much got to put it. But notice we do end up going exactly where you would expect it to. So again, by the time this gets back here, this really starting to look like a little congestion area, and you can see that even if you go to the far right. So that's another reason. Let me get it right there. There you go. You can still see that's really looking like congestion. And so, oops, didn't mean to move that over. Why can't I get this to? There it is. So notice you're coming down, first entry, second entry. So when it broke lower, it's a failed second entry long. But look at that support. And I'm just not crazy about that. Plus, you do have a close outside and a new low in place. So you could get whipsawed here. So that's something else to think about. So I did mark it green. It would really depend on your chart, though, and it's just really close on mine. Even looking at the lows here, I think it's a 4-tick failure. So I'm not crazy about it, especially that late in the day. That's another reason. But anyway, that's what I saw today. That's how I read the chart. Hope you had a good day. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to wrap it up and try to get out of here today. It's after 5 already, so I've had a long day here today. But anyway, hope you had a good trading day. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow, and we'll wrap up our week tomorrow. But I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.